let's say you didn't really have an audience, or you came back and your engagement tanked so hard that it was basically like hitting a reset button.
Yeah.
How would you approach getting clients for Page Tear if that was the case? What would you do to get like the first 3 clients?
Yeah, I think we overcomplicate it. It's just manual work. It's figuring out where would my perfect customer live. So you just look at first who would be like the perfect person for this, and then you narrow down how would I reach them.
Blake, it's great to have you here. I really appreciate you coming on the show. I know that you have you're recovering from a cold, so we'll try to go easy on your voice.
Yeah, I sound like a monster actually. So this is not what I usually sound like, but I'm excited to be here.
Oh man, I really appreciate it. So let's get started here with like maybe just give us a little background on you, what you're up to, where you came from and where you are now.
Ooh, yeah. So right now I'm building out a couple things. I've made the switch to going all in on my own business, kind of building out a more diversified portfolio of different things, mostly service-based right now, but software down the road will probably come as well. But one of those businesses is a productized service called Page Tear, which is kind of like Design Joy for web copy. So we'll dive into that, I'm sure. But then I've got some other things going on as well. I do a lot of writing for people, help people build their audience. And then I have some other stuff that I'm brewing as well. So I'm trying to keep busy, trying to diversify in things that make sense and things that I know. Fortunately and unfortunately, I've made so many mistakes in my past that I kind of know more of what's actually going to work and what people want, because I've done a lot of research as to what they don't want and built those things. So that's kind of where I'm at now. Really excited about the leap that I've taken, but it's still pretty early days with all these different businesses. In terms of kind of my past, I've been in marketing for 10 years. So my story in a nutshell is I graduated from high school, immediately went on a volunteer mission to France for 2 years, and then was like behind on college and everything by 2 years compared to everybody else in my class after that. So I tried to catch up. I tried to go to college and work full time and do everything to try to make up for it. Kind of just landed a job in SEO by accident because I spoke French. And so I was just working with French Canadian clients, and that's how I got in. I knew nothing about SEO or anything marketing. And then from there, I just kind of jumped from progressively more enterprise and intense agencies until finally I burnt out from agency life. I was working with like huge clients, Samsung, Betterment, TripAdvisor, companies like that. But I burnt out, as everybody eventually does at an agency, and went in-house. And a lot of people might know me as the CMO of Copy AI. I was employee number 1 at Copy AI, helped build out that whole team. And then also had a stint at Riverside before kind of making this leap and deciding this is what I wanted to do.
Let's bring it back to right here, right now. So your current project that you're working on is Page Tear. And so what gave you that idea? Like what made you, because you've went through lots of business ideas and you've experimented and went through lots of avenues. What made you decide to launch Page Tear, and how did you do that?
Yeah, I mean, I'd seen companies like Design Joy in particular with the model. So that was interesting, but the business wasn't started because of the model. It was more about the kind of work that I wanted to do. And actually, initially, what it was going to be, I had this whole site built out with the same name, but it was going to be a lot more focused around CRO and A/B testing. So like going through auditing landing pages, auditing different funnels, flows of your funnel, identifying experiments that you should run, and then the deliverable would kind of be, here are these experiments that you should run. And that was initially what I wanted to do. But the reason why I didn't feel like that was going to work out super well is the ones that do this really well, the ones that capitalize on the productized service model, have clear deliverables. And this wasn't super deliverable. It was more like, here are a ton of ideas, now run with them. And to some extent, if you get a design, you still have to run with it and implement it, but it's concrete. It's a design. It's something that is delivered and you can implement fairly quickly without further direction. Whereas if I'm delivering A/B tests that a company should run, it felt very ethereal to me the more that I thought about it. And I was thinking through the workflow of, okay, if I get to that point and I actually deliver the work, are they going to be happy to just get this huge list of test ideas, basically. Even though those aren't valuable and a lot of companies would want them, I'm not sure that that was the right way to approach it. So I started looking at what's the subset? How do I make this more specific in a way that I can actually deliver something that's more concrete, make the value maybe a little bit more apparent when I'm delivering something, but have it still be what I'm good at and what I want to do. And so copywriting was a part of what Page Tear was initially going to be, but it was just the scope was too big. So I narrowed it down and said, let's focus more on web copy and really just lean into that. And I also tried to eliminate and limit things that I didn't want to do on top of that. So most people would say like, okay, well, it's just a content service then, and you're going to write blog posts for me and you're going to write all this different stuff. And I decided like, I don't want to write blog posts for people. I don't want to do that. I already do ghostwriting and things like that, and I get enough of that. And I even don't ghostwrite blogs or anything, and I don't want to do that. I don't believe that that's where I'm best served or what I want to do. So then I just limited it more to, okay, micro copy, headlines, web copy in general. Like that's kind of where I settled. Web copy, sometimes emails, things like that. I'll do that. And then I just refine from there. So that's kind of where it initially came from, and I've just been refining from there. But honestly, this is only probably like 2 months in the making, and the actual build of the site and launching it was like a week and a half.
Wow. So who would be like a target client, or who's your ideal client, or the clients that you're getting?
The more that I'm finding is it's actually agencies. I thought it was going to be like SaaS companies, because that's what I've always worked with in my career. I always thought software companies, I just understand them. I've audited so many landing pages, like 500 landing pages of SaaS companies. That's probably who I'm going to end up serving. And it's turned out to be agencies that are getting in more quickly and getting value out of it right away.
So how do you get clients? Like you came up with the idea, you put out this MVP. How are you now getting clients?
Thankfully, I've built an existing audience over the past 8 years. So that's pretty much been it. That's a luxury to have. I mean, going forward, it's going to look a little bit different, where I'm actively going to build some kind of a growth strategy for this. But the idea is I get enough people in that I actually have a wait list, and then I don't have to market it as much because I won't be able to handle it anyway. Yeah. But for right now, it's the craziest thing, but you'd be surprised to know the more that I promote it, the more that I get bookings. So wow. It's almost like there's a correlation between talking about the thing you're building and getting some interest in the thing you're building. As crazy as that might sound, the days that last week when I was sick, the latter part of the week, wasn't able to really do anything about it. Guess what? No discovery calls, didn't book anything. So it's kind of as simple as that now, where leveraging my audience on Twitter and LinkedIn first and foremost is enough to get some people interested. I've been able to work with a couple of people now, a couple of clients, and started to get the process going. So I would say right now, growth is not my biggest issue, because I'm not expecting to build this massive $1 million business in month one. What I'm hoping to do in month one, month two, is actually figure out how good my process is, which I'm finding some things that aren't as great and some things that are actually were pretty good bets. And I'm just mixing that stuff together and trying to figure out, how do I put something together that is easiest for me, easiest for the client, and most valuable to everybody involved as well?
Let's say you didn't really have an audience, or you came back and your engagement tanked so hard that it was basically like hitting a reset button.
Yeah.
How would you approach getting clients for Page Tear if that was the case? What would you do to get like the first 3 clients?
Yeah, I think we overcomplicate it. It's just manual work. It's figuring out where would my perfect customer live. So some of the qualifications for this would be like, all right, well, they have to be able to afford $3,000 a month. So they have to be at least a little bit well off, or have some kind of business where they can use the business to pay for it, right? I probably want to work with a founder or an agency leader or somebody that can actually make the decision and also be a good partner to give me good feedback and submit requests and get value out of it. So you just look at first who would be like the perfect person for this, and then you narrow down how would I reach them. And that part can be a little bit challenging. I would say it's really simple. It's not necessarily easy. You still have to do all the work, but the approach would be really simple. Find the perfect audience and then go in their communities and just talk to them. Not upfront about pitching them about anything, but just like helping them, answering their questions, building a relationship with them. And then eventually it becomes really easy for that to leak into the conversation between the two of you. So if you were going to do it on Twitter, for example, or Reddit or LinkedIn or whatever community you want to choose, you would say, I know it's this type of person, so I'm going to go through and scrape all these different profiles manually. When I say scrape, I'm really just saying you are actually going to go search out through Twitter Advanced Search or through any other tool that you can find to kind of get into the arena with these different people, put them on a Twitter list or an engagement list of some kind, and start building a relationship with them. You don't need to have followers to do that. You can easily build a service without followers. It's just not as easy as having a built-in audience, but there's ways to do it. And I would say it just is shots on goal. It's about volume at that point. How many people can you put on a list that you can build a relationship with that would probably be a good customer, and start just living in their ecosystem and providing value to them in their ecosystem. And then they will quickly kind of learn what you're up to as you learn what they're up to, and see if there's anything that makes sense there. The second thing that is massively beneficial is trying to find partnerships, for whether it's like affiliates or just a straight up partnership with somebody that's kind of doing something similar. So going to Brett, for example, from Design Joy, and saying, hey, you probably get people that need design and copy. What if I gave you X amount of money for every single lead that you brought me that signed up? And you can do that vice versa. So establishing partnerships, especially in this community where the productized model is still early on enough that everybody's kind of supportive, and it's more positive right now around this kind of business. So you can definitely find people that are aligned and would happily partner up with you. Those would be two things that I think you could do if you're willing to put in the work to still grow at a good rate.
When you're doing this outreach and you've got these potential customers and these leads, and let's say they read your page through your email, your DM, whatever it is you're doing for that marketing outreach, what do you talk about? What's that sales conversation like? Does it feel like a sales conversation, or is it more like they want to give you money, they just have a few questions? What does that look like, and what are you talking about?
Yeah. So I've seen a lot of interesting stuff around this part of it, where first off, the flow of it is they sign up for a call. To get into the call, there's a little form that just asks for a little bit more context, and most people fill out a little bit of context. So that's really what helps guide the conversation. I'm never going into it with the same pitch necessarily, or trying to even sell them. Usually I'm really just trying to tackle any questions or objections that they might have to it, as opposed to actively pitching, which has been helpful, and we've had some really good conversations. What I'm seeing though is that link is getting so abused. Like 40% of the bookings so far, I would say, have just been people that have seen it and either want to build something similar, so they wanted to pick my brain about it, which is kind of a weird thing to do. And then other people that just like wanted to say hi and meet me and pick my brain about something marketing related, which is nice. And I still had those conversations because I like talking with people, and I don't want to, burn any bridges or bum them out or anything. But it definitely is more of a waste of time in terms of the business. Yeah. And so that's been interesting, trying to find a way of like, how do I get calls that are good, that are actually full of intent? And like 68% or so, I would say, have still been typical actual discovery calls. So it's not like those haven't been happening.
To answer, let's assume that there's some folks here, which I imagine there are, because we talk a lot about productizing in the community here. And there's a lot of folks that I'm trying to encourage to start productizing and offering subscription-based services. So there's going to be questions like, what does that workflow look like then? So you get the discovery call, you close them. What's next? And what does that workflow look like from a practical standpoint, like onboarding to delivering the first tasks?
Yeah.
What tool are you using? How are you automating it? What does that look like? Give us like a bird's eye view.
Yeah, it's designed to be as simple as possible. So once they pay through Stripe. That's what's embedded on the website, and that's also what the client login is. So if you go on the site, you can see the login tab. All that is access to your Stripe payment plan, so that you can pause or cancel anytime. Yeah. So once you sign up through that button and you pay, then you're immediately dropped into a questionnaire. It's just an Airtable. It is a free Airtable subscription, not paying for it, is just a questionnaire of like 8 or 9 things to give me context on your brand and give you a chance to kind of drop in any nuggets of things that are going to consistently come up. Because when I'm writing copy, I need to know what your tone is. I need to know how you write, who you write for, how you try to avoid writing, like what are the things you don't say, who are the people you don't want to target. Just need to figure out some basic information there. Once I've got that set up, the Airtable, the Stripe automatically redirects to the Airtable as an automation. Then the Airtable, upon submission, automatically redirects into a Notion board, or at least it will. Right now, I'm actually doing that part manually, not because it's hard to set up the automation. I just want to have a little bit of control over what they get dropped into. So right now what I'm doing is building out their board ahead of time because I have more time to see them coming down the pipeline, and I can build out their board for them before they join. And then it's kind of like all there. But eventually it's going to be totally automated where they just drop right into Notion. And that's for Brett, he uses Trello. For Notion, I'm using that, and it's basically Kanban board, same exact principle, just different software. Yeah. And when they drop in, the onboarding is super simple. There are 2 cards in the backlog column, I guess, for the board. One of them says start here, so that's obviously what you start with, and that gives you kind of a checklist of here's all the things that you can do to set yourself up for success. Here's where you can drop any assets that might be helpful, like a media kit, branding, things like that. If there's anything that wasn't in the questionnaire that you want to give me as context, add it here as well. And then it also walks through best practices for making a request, like checklist of do this. And then the second card is their first request. And when they pop into the first request, it's already like templatized and built out, and it walks them through exactly how to make their first request. There's like little toggles that say all the bits of information that need to be in the request. And then when you open those, there's a box that has the text input, and it has placeholder text that gives them a good example of what that would look like, what a good request would look like. So it's really simple. That will probably evolve over time. If I see the need to add even more context, I will. But so far, it's like the goal is really get your first request in the second that you get into your board. Let's just get rolling. If you sign up day one, if you sign up on Tuesday, by Tuesday evening, you can have your request submitted, and I'm going to start working on it Wednesday and deliver on Thursday. That's really the goal.
I want to ask, like, genuinely, what is like your future goal for PageTear? What would be something that you're hoping to accomplish with this?
My goal is actually that it should not be the end all be all for my business. So to give you context, I'm pretty open with like my numbers and stuff. So hopefully that's cool with you. But
for sure, please do.
Yeah, so I'm already at $25K a month with my other stuff before doing this. Yeah. So that's not like a huge number in the grand scheme of things, but it's definitely enough to keep the lights on for the family and make things work, right? So the goal is not that this becomes a $10 million business that kills my soul. It's more that it becomes, hey, could this become a $1 million business and achievable, or like a $500,000 business? That'd be great. If I could get to that point where I feel like I'm spending an appropriate amount of time on it, it's not killing me, I enjoy doing it, I'm getting even better at my craft. If all those boxes are being ticked and I'm making making a worthwhile living off of that as a part of my portfolio, then that's really appealing, because then it gives me the flexibility to offload anything in my portfolio that actually isn't enjoyable. For most of the time, the other writing that I do for people is enjoyable and I like doing it. Every once in a while, you get working with a client and you're just like, I just don't like this niche, or they don't treat me super well, and I don't really want to do that. So it gives you more flexibility to fire people or to move off of different projects. So that's kind of the goal, more so than having it be a mega success. It's, can this be at least a third of my portfolio that's reliable? Another big goal for the business is, you kind of mentioned, like similar to what Jay Klaus has, what Design Joy has, is to just build up a good wait list of people that I know are willing to wait around for an open spot. So if I set a cap at 10, and then I have people pause, let's say I'm at 10, and then all of a sudden 4 people decide to pause at the same time, instead of freaking out that, holy cow, that's how much MRR, that's so much money that's on the table that I'm losing, being able to just like send an email out to my list and having a list reliably convert back and fill those spots is kind of ultimately the dream goal, because then it's much more reliable. I don't have to worry about it at night. That's ultimately what I really want to happen more than anything else.
What you've been doing, what I find is a perfect example of what I like to say is if you treat your business and your brand and the content that you've produced in and around it as like a bank account, what you're doing is, specifically the audience, you're making deposits into their existence. So you're adding value to them, you're making deposits by sharing something, attaching value to it. You're not just saying, hey, can you buy from me? Hey, can you buy from me? You're making deposits. And that is like an investment where that actually compounds over time. And so the equity and the value that you build in that bank account, let's call it, becomes so large that you can start to make withdrawals from it and you're not going in the red. It's actually kind of welcome. You're like, hey, you've actually earned that equity, that value. You've earned that. You can do that. But I think the problem with when people get started and they don't build that equity, they start trying to make withdrawals and it's like you're making credit card purchases you can't pay off at the end of the month. So that's when people are like, yikes, like I'm not interested. I see your playbook. I see what you're trying to do. Like you've done nothing for me or others at all. And that's not to say you need to spend the next 5 years building an audience. No way. You can start your service-based business. You could productize it. And by next week, you can have your first customer. But it doesn't come by saying, hey, I have a $5,000 a month service. Do you want to buy it? I think you'll really love it. And I'll do this and this and this. It's like, no. Like, establish some relationships, start some conversations, ask some questions, be curious, be open, be humble, and be honest. Like, hey, I'm starting a business here. I'm looking for customers, but I'm not, claiming to be an expert at doing this perfectly yet. So you're talking to your target customers, you're asking them questions, you're doing a little bit of research, you're offering value, you're adding value, and you continue to make deposits into that bank account so that you can make those little withdrawals. And it's totally welcome and even encouraged from that said bank account. That's the way I see it.
Definitely. Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. So that's the stage that I'm at now. But I'm trying to build up some more equity with my audience again, since I've been gone for so long. And Twitter has also changed for the worse, in my opinion. But that's another subject. But there's a lot to recover from. But yeah. So then, okay, tell us, because I want you to be able to rest your voice now. Tell us where can folks find you, follow your insights? Where do you want them to check out what you're up to? Yeah, Twitter is probably the easiest place to like follow me at Hey Blake. If you're not already, let's connect. Send me a DM. I respond to all my DMs, and I love talking to new people. And then obviously I'm building out pagetear.com. So pagetear.com. Yep, that's the one. And that's kind of the front facing thing that I'm building. Again, I do have like this writing service that I have built out that's going pretty well, but I don't really have a landing page for it or anything. It's just been like very in the background. But please connect. I swear I don't sound like this all the time. I'm gonna try to like start making more videos and stuff too, and you'll see that I don't sound like a monster in real life. But
it's all good, man. The value comes right through. It's great. It's been wonderful to meet you. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on here and share your wisdom with us. It's super helpful as our audience and our crew here. We're trying to encourage, our professional designers and micro agency owners, creative studios. We want to help them succeed. And I know that productizing your services is a huge key that for some people, that's it. That's like what they should be doing. And so I want to bring in these voices like yours to be able to show like that it is possible, that, it's about just understanding how to do it. And so I really appreciate you giving your take on it and showing that it's something that is accessible and that people can actually do. So
I appreciate having me.
Oh, thanks, Blake. Really appreciate it. And we'll have to have you on again another time when your voice is rested up and we can hear.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's a wonderful booming voice.
I'm down anytime. Yeah, sounds good.
Awesome, man. Well, congrats on the early success so far. I wish you all the best, and we'll be in touch, man.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.